the monkeys, be careful, they may come and take your camera.
So first is Vaishnavism, Hinduism.
Yeah. Yeah, you can speak on that. Yeah.
Yes. The purpose is to explain one is polytheist and one is monotheist.
The polytheist and is actually Vaishnavism. Even in Hinduism also, it is a way one can explain that it's monotheistic. Even in Hindu, because Vaishnavism generally it is one aspect of Hinduism. That if you talk about Hinduism is very broad. But within that stream, that Vaishnavism is one strand, one aspect. That also in the Hinduism, except one supreme being. And what happens is when people say polytheistic, it means there are many gods. But in a way, we have these demigods. Even in Christianity also there are many gods, that these angels and all these different these beings. But in our case, we call as demigods. They are called devatas. And devatas are all coming from one God. They are expansions. They are empowered individuals who are empowered to perform certain functions. So therefore, they are called like demigods. But they are not the same as God. God is one, supreme being. From him, many can be, let's say, generated. But the source is one. Even in Hinduism also. It's not that Vaishnavism only the monotheistic, but it is also, there are many these different aspects, but the Supreme Being is one. And from him, many, let's say, expansions and many other empowered personalities can be generated for doing different functions. Therefore, in the eyes of those who are not familiar with its conception, they only think that the Hindus has so many gods, and so therefore they misunderstand. Otherwise, it could be. In the world, people think that this Abrahamic, that's religion, that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. But I think that is only the three monotheistic let's say, religion in the world. But that is a misunderstanding. That Hinduism is also actually monotheistic. We accept one God, one supreme being, but the supreme being has the this capacity to expand in many different forms. So and those could have. You see, God is unlimited, so therefore the expansions also could be unlimited. So, but the conception is that it is one source. So like when Lord Brahma is the first created living being in this universe, his name is the Brahma. When he prayed, he says, Ishvara Parama Krishna. That in Sanskrit language, Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the controller. Ishvara is the supreme Lord. And he is the primeval source. Ishvara Parama Krishna, Sachidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir, means he is the origin of all origins. Anadir Adir, Govinda is the name. It's also called, see, God can have different names, but they are the same. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam, and he is the primeval cause of all causes. So in this way, that the definition, God's definition is actually available in the Vedic tradition. And so when one studies the theology and also the nature of the Supreme Being from a very elaborate and a very deeper conception of understanding, then one will come to realize that yes, it is correct, that even in Hinduism also God is one. So in that sense, all the religions of the world have similar, let's say, conception. But it's not only Abrahamic religion is monotheistic, but it's because I think the people misunderstand. But this is how you can understand that that aspect is similar. So it's not the Vaishnavism. In Vaishnavism, Vaishnavism means, you see, God. The name, another name is called Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Lord Vishnu is a supreme person. It's not that God is impersonal. Impersonal is another aspect, but behind the impersonal quality of God, there is a personality. Just like, I am a person. So my voice, or sometimes my energy or my words may be going somewhere, because that works generated from my conception, from my vision. So but that work goes on without my physical presence. So it could be like some kind of impersonal energy that coming out from me. But the person is sitting here. So similarly, God, the Supreme Being, in the Vaishnavism, is known as a supreme, as a personality. He has the qualities of personality. He is also an individual, and he has all the traits of personality. So he has consciousness, and he has willing, feeling, thinking, and all these qualities of personalities. So are endowed in God also. So this is the specific characteristic of the Vaishnava strand of as a Hindu religion. So any person who worships God, Vishnu, with that understanding is called it's called a Vaishnava, and the traditional, as a spiritual, let's say, culture that he practices is called Vaishnavism. So in other words, a Vaishnava worships the Lord as a supreme personality, and so in this way, in this supreme personality, the relationship with the Lord in that capacity, so we are individual living beings, all of us, that not only human beings, but the plants, the animals, the birds, the microbes, all forms of life. So all these forms of lives are related with the Supreme Source, Supreme Being. So in this way, there's a Vaishnava conception is very clear that all living beings are individual living beings, but God is one. The Supreme Being is one. So the relationship between God and the individual being, especially in the human form of life, when we have relationship that I like to serve the Lord, I like to become a servant of the Lord. So in this way, this kind of relationship, so this is done through a process called bhakti. This is called a devotional relationship. And so in this relationship is very vast. And according to the guna, means the quality of this individual, and the karma means the activity that the individual is able to perform. So according to that, there are different, let's say, systems of relationship. According from rasa. Rasa means the mellow, called a transcendental, let's say, mellow, that with that transcendental relationships, one can relish, the sweetness, or the different degrees of sweetness that one can develop with the Supreme Lord in connection. So this is the whole realm of bhakti, or called a devotional relationship. So this relationship is bhakti. Let's say I find it similar in Christianity. See, in Christianity, in some strains of Christianity, especially in the Catholic, this tradition, especially in the, this Saint Francis of Assisi, and so his work on Christianity has a very close connection with some, let's say, aspects of bhakti, because they relate to the Lord, and in a very humble, in a very, let's say, a state of mind where one is surrendering as a 100% to the mercy of the Lord, or in order to serve the Lord, and not asking anything from the Lord, but only begging for the blessing to serve Him. So that, I think, some conception is there in the culture of, I say, in the Christianity, in the Assisi, Saint Francis of Assisi, and very tolerant and very want to become very humble, and with the approach of humility, and there's a prayerful connection with the blessings of the Lord. I'd say some similarities there with this conception. But bhakti, of course, bhakti is in a deeper sense, in a deeper manner. It can go very much further in order to actually understand what is the ultimate perfection of one's life in that relationship, we call it devotional relationship with the Supreme Lord, with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, we call Sri Krishna. So this is a very beautiful thing. And so in order to come to that stage, that one requires several steps of as in personal discipline, and then commitment, very serious commitment, and also the help of a spiritual teacher called the guru, or a spiritual teacher who can guide me and who can engage me in developing that quality. And so in this way, it is in the Vaishnava tradition, it is an absolute necessity that one should be guided by a bona fide teacher, coming in is called proper parampara. Parampara means the disciplic succession. In that, so a bona fide teacher who comes from that, from that recognized tradition. So one must be guided by such an advanced teacher of in this spiritual search for knowledge. So an example is that the tradition I follow, is called Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. Sampradaya is the same as the Parampara system. So there are four sampradayas, the bona fide sampradayas, and out of that this Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya, that you see in called International Society for Krishna Consciousness, in which I belong. This International Society for Krishna Consciousness belongs to this sampradaya called the Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya Sampradaya. So you can see that whether someone is bona fide or not. So you can judge you can ask from which sampradaya you are coming. What is your sampradaya? So then, because there are many individuals who don't belong to any sampradaya and just going out their own, let's say, interests, or they may not be bona fide. But if you are looking for a bona fide, there's a line and a source, and you should ask which sampradaya you belong to or you come from. So in this way, this knowledge must be transmitted from a proper bona fide sampradaya. And so in this way, one can be connected properly with that proper bona fide source, and then your knowledge is regarded as bona fide. But otherwise, sometimes it may not be bona fide, and sometimes there may be some misunderstanding. So this is another requirement in the Vaishnava tradition. So in this way, Vaishnavism, or to become a Vaishnava, is very important culture in the human form of life. Vaishnava means a person who worships the personal form, the personality form of the Supreme Lord. So is a Vaishnava. And or a person who worships Vishnu, Lord Vishnu is another name of the Supreme Lord. And so a person who worships Lord Vishnu in his personal form can be regarded as a Vaishnava. So these are some of the different aspects of Vaishnava and the Vaishnavism.
Maybe we can talk now about Madhurya.
Uh,
Because I read that.
Is this off?
No.
Can say about Radharani's position. See, in the Vaishnava tradition, that the Lord Sri Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Well, sometimes he has his internal expansions, internal energy, and Radharani is the supreme internal potency of the Supreme Lord in his lila, in his pastime. So therefore you can say that in the Vaishnava tradition, Radharani plays very important role in Krishna lila. But he is actually the internal, she is actually the internal potency of the Supreme Lord. So, so the highest, therefore, form of understanding of the Supreme Lord is actually through the internal potency of Krishna himself. That means through Radharani. So this is called in the Madhurya, means this a devotional, loving relationship with the Radharani, in the pastimes of Radharani and the Krishna, in that connection. So this is called Madhurya Lila. Therefore, in the Vaishnava, you get this devotional ecstasy or this understanding by approaching Radharani, Srimati Radhika, with the pleasure potency of the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna himself. And so therefore, right now we are in Radhakund. Radhakund, which is Radharani is a very wonderful pastime here, and so therefore many Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, especially during the season, during this very important, wonderful season, come to Radhakund and Samkund to do this special service, seva, to remember the Radharani's pastimes and to associate with the Vaishnavas and the Vaishnavis in the holy dham. So this therefore this type of lila is the highlights of the Vaishnava tradition. In the Vaishnava culture, these connect the relationship between Srimati Radhika and the Krishna in this very intimate relationship is a very important principle in the Vaishnava theology. And therefore, all the Vaishnavas and the Vaishnavis, they try to get this pastime, this lila, enter into their ears or into their thought. So therefore, they all come here and they try to remember what Radharani did and what are our activities and how she could produce all these inconceivable, let's say, madhurya, this rush in connection to serving Krishna. So this is realized by the devotees, Vaishnavas and the Vaishnavis, so much that once one enters into this lila or this culture, then one is completely beyond any material tinge of connection. One is completely beyond another realm. It's purely in the spiritual, in the transcendental realm. There You see, there's no the material conception, and everything is in the spiritual world, spiritual conception, and a spiritual understanding, spiritual realization. So this is a whole realm of reality. It's called the transcendental reality. Now people talk about reality, but this type of reality cannot be experienced by ordinary people. But when one enters into the transcendental, this realm or transcendental region, then by the blessings of Radha and Lord Krishna, that one can actually have the experience and the understanding of the existence of this reality. So in this way, in the Vaishnava community, the advanced devotees of the Lord, so therefore they enter into this arena, and then they become completely, they get unlimited, let's say, ecstasy and the happiness beyond measure. And so in this way, they get a glimpse of the transcendental world. And so this is what the Vaishnavas always long for, that then developing called the Prema Bhakti. Prema Bhakti means pure devotional. It's a relationship, understanding of the Supreme Lord. So in this way, a Vaishnava and the Vaishnavi feels that he or she gets the perfection of life. And so this is how the end result of the devotional life. Of course, it's always increasing in the Madhura Ras, and in this, so there's no limit. It is unlimited, and so therefore, by developing this the pure devotional culture, or this pure devotional service, that one will be able to experience, these areas of ecstasy, devotional ecstasy, and then one will be able to experience that, yes, coming to this world, when one gets that type of experience, then one gets fulfillment, and so this is beyond any material conception, and so therefore one gets perfectly happy and is fully joyful, and then there's no in such situation, such an individual is beyond any, let's say, material tinge of connection, is beyond matter. So in this way, the devotional life, when it reaches its this highest stage of understanding, then he or she gets this type of experience. Right now we are sitting here in this is called Sri Gopalji Mandir in Radhakund. So this temple was established by the king of Manipur. His name was Chorachan Maharaj. Chorachan Maharaj was, so this temple is about, so it will be around 100, say over 150 years old, this temple. So traditionally in Manipur, so Manipur was a small independent kingdom before 1947. It was in a small independent country. But this country was ruled by kings, generations of kings. And our Guru Maharaj Prabhupada says that this Vaishnava kingdom, it's called the Vaishnava kingdom in Manipur, so has been existing, since Pandava's time. That was about more than 5,000 years ago. So the generations of kings ruled this small kingdom. It's called the Himalayan like kingdom, like because tail end of the Himalayan mountain range. So these kings, so many kings, so they were all Vaishnavas kings. So Vaishnava kings, generally they also followed the Vaishnava philosophy. They worshipped Lord Krishna as the Supreme Lord, and our daily life, day-to-day life, so they always follow this Vaishnava culture, worshipping Lord Krishna, and in day-to-day life, even when they go to the war, to the battlefield, they pray for the blessings of Lord Krishna. So in this way, the small kingdom of Manipur was ruled by generations of kings. So this king, during the early part of the 19th century, he was here. He ruled Manipur, and so while these kings became old, so they either stay in, they come either spend their last days either in Vrindavan or in Radhakund. Also in Navadip, some of them spend their lives in Navadip. This is in Bengal. But Vrindavan and Radhakund, there were many kings that came to here, and they also built temples. So that generally they spend their last days. They always passed away here, in these holy dhams. So in that, so Joshan Maharaj, so he came here, and so he built this temple. And so there's a very interesting story about him. He was a great devotee, and even he said this Radhakund and Shamkund, the pavements, the parikrama mark, that means when we walk around, he said it was also laid by him, stones, the footwork. And one time, it was noted that one time there was one crocodile in Radhakund in his time. And the crocodile, because this crocodile, what happened was that when the old ladies, because to take a dip in Radhakund is regarded as very holy. So you consider that many old ladies, sometimes young and old, they come and sometimes take a dip. So when some of the old ladies took a dip, so this crocodile was, eating, because therefore the ladies lost their life. And when the king, Srila Maharaj, in his time, when he noticed that, this crocodile is doing this thing, so he decided that he must kill this crocodile. Yeah, this happened. This is a real story. And so the water was drained out from Radhakund, and then finally, he killed this crocodile by shooting with a gun, because he was a king. And so the Brajavasis means those who are residing here in Radhakund area, they are called the Brajavasis. So these Brajadham, like Vrindavan and Radhakund, so this is a line of Braja. So these Brajavasis made a protest that it is not, why you kill this, this is not an ordinary soul. Although it's a crocodile, but this is a great soul, but it is a great offense that to kill, this crocodile. Then the king said, I am born as a Kshatriya. Kshatriya means administrative class. So the duty of the people in the administrative class is to protect the innocent, like the children, the women, the old age, old people. So, but this crocodile is giving trouble to, the old ladies and the innocent people. So therefore, as a duty of a king, so I killed him. So in this way, the Brajavasis were satisfied. But then, he had to do the rituals. So the crocodile was cremated as a great soul, with the proper rituals, Vedic rituals. so being guided by the Brajavasis. So in this way, the king performed that the last rite of the crocodile here. That was the so there was a thing happened here, and he because of him, and many temples were also there, many Manipuri temples. They became here in Radhakund, and so in this way he spent many of his days here in his old days here in Radhakund, and so then it was handed over to different Manipuri communities to look after the temple, and so now at the moment now I'm looking after. Yes, we want to develop this for so that those who like to come and spend their life in devotional practice. So in the future we are thinking of having a 24-hour prayer singing. This is a kirtan, let's say, place, so that many devotees who come from different parts of India as well as the world, they could spend sometimes a few days to chant. So there will be so after my project in Manipur, so that within the next few years, I think this will be developed, and then it will be a place for everyone to come and there and chanting and do their devotional life here in Radhakund. Krishna 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 Rakshama Krishna 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 Pahi Mam Krishna 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 Krishna